Once again, I scrubbed out on the final day of another Duelist Cup. Failed to make top 100 again. As you can see here, not even close. The highest I got was, I believe, 40k, which was still basically 7k points short. And yeah, this is like basically nearly the same score as I got in the last two Duelist Cups, including the World Championships, like within 500 or 600 points. So, you know, master of consistency right here. It consistently dog shit, that is. And speaking of dog shit, this format, you have a best of one format with max illegal that's diverse and the power level is high. So you need to open multiple non-engine and hand traps in order to have a fighting chance going second, just to have a chance to be able to play the game. Otherwise, if any deck resolves their full combo or resolves their main game plan, they're in such a favored position, or they basically set up a pseudo FDK board like Dragon Link or Mathmech does. And because the format's so diverse, it's really hard to just dedicate all that space in your deck to be able to run all the correct non-engine. Like if you don't resolve Maxi or draw against Dragon Link, it's basically a game they can combo through anything. You have Labyrinth, which, you know, if you don't open Ash or Bell, you're really behind, because then you can't interact with their welcome Labyrinths. If you're playing Mathmech, you know, Mathmech doesn't care about any hand trap really besides Maxi or Bystials. Pearly's still doing Pearly stuff. Pearly, the Ghost Trick stuff, by the way, they hit the White Cat too, but people are still doing the Ghost Trick stuff poorly. So they have the UDF plus the Noir. Even Vanquish Souls, right? If you let Vanquish Souls draw two cards, suddenly they draw into, there can be only one, they draw into Shifter, and along with this, you know, card called Maxi, so that there's just a bunch of, they just draw a bunch of cards and just draw into their auto win cards versus you. Like it's, and then they're stunned. Don't even. That can be a completely another discussion on the position of stun in this meta and how it just ignores everything else, every single thing that you put in for other decks, and then you just have a bunch of dead non-engine in your deck against stun while not having spell trap removal that's really not that great against any other matchup besides for stun itself. And that's why you're gonna see stun did very well in the top 100. So yeah, in this like clusterfuck of a format, what deck did I play? I played the most boring one out of all of them. And Mathmech. I will probably never play this deck again on Master Duel. Playing this deck for over 40 hours during the weekend is mind-numbing, because you're mostly doing the same things over and over. Your combos are mostly the same, your lines are all the same, your turn 1 end board is the same every time. You know what you're gonna end on, your opponent knows what you're gonna do. Even your OTK combos, they only ever involve 2 different cards, which is like 80% of the time it's gonna be Terahertz OTKing, and then the other 20% of the time it's gonna be an access code if you need to like remove something. It doesn't feel like you have a lot of player agency in how you can affect the outcome of a match. It's basically, does your opponent have the outs to your deck or not? Like, did they resolve the Maxi? You know, did they draw the right hand trap at the right time? Do you draw the out to the Maxi, or do you draw the out to their hand trap? Like, it got so bad, like to the point where a good third of the matches of where I played Mathmech, when I went first, would be just my opponent conceding within like 3 summons. Because it's either, if I reveal Circular and they don't have a hand trap, they leave. If I reveal Circular and they have a Maxi and I have the Alta Maxi, they leave. If they have a different hand trap and they try to hand trap my Alan Birch and they're trying to cut me off Diameter, then I have access to Diameter anyways, or I hard drew the 1-of, because, you know, I was, you know, Konami limited this was the hit, you know, Diameter to 1. And then they would see that their hand trap did nothing, and then they would leave. So yeah, I appreciate all those people saving us, both of us, the time of not having to watch me play out like my same dumbass combo every single time. Like, since I heckin' love Slash Mage into Transco Talker, into Link Decoder, into make Heat Soul draw a card, into make Terahertz, send the Save Worm, set Super Factorial. Woo, that's so amazing. That's so interesting. I swear, if I got to if I have to make another Small Road Bridge or mining for Circular and then special Circular one more time, like I'm gonna lose. I was gonna lose it. I gave up like an hour left because I could see that I was not gonna get anywhere close to the necessary point, and the less time I have to spend playing Mathmech, probably the better for my mental health. So with that, with my opinions of the deck out of the way, I guess we can discuss some card choices. The card choices that actually matter, not the circular stuff. Most of this list is Spog standard. Like, we don't have to talk about the stuff that's in every Mathmech list. Okay, Parallel Exceeds, I guess, is maybe not in every Mathmech list, although I feel like it should be, because now with the addition of Terahertz, one Parallel Exceed is just full combo, and I treat this as a starter because Parallel Exceed is always live. If you don't have Circular, if you don't have another Mathmech name, well, you can normal summon literally any hand trap, make Almirage, special Exceeds, and then the Exceed, and then 2 Parallel Exceeds, make Allen version, and that's full combo. You add Circular, you dump Diameter. If you say start with a hand trap and like nothing, you have no Cybers, you have no Mathmech cards, and you just start with normal summoning hand trap, you can still Almirage, Exceeds, make Allen version, Circular, dump Diameter, or Allen version tribute itself, special Diameter, get Super Factorial, and then at the end, you just Terahertz dump the third Mathmech name instead of the safe one first. And there you have the full setup. So I think Exceed is basically a staple now, and it's also, if you draw a with Circular, it's good extension. I guess I can go over the different permutations. Quote permutations, they're not really permutations of the end board because they're 99% similar anyways, but it is an extender and it lets you play through hand traps and it helps with OTKing, all that stuff. The next, I guess the point of contention is Mathmech Multiplication. I was iffy on this card at first. Then, the more I play this deck, the more I realized that this is actually quite important to the deck, in my opinion. This is like playing Gamma Burst in Sprite, right? It just makes OTK lines really easier. And it's not just like making them more convenient, right? Like how you can OTK every situation where you can OTK with multiplication, you can OTK without it. That's not the case. Multiplication actually helps you to OTK. It gives you OTK lines where there wouldn't be normally accessible, since without multiplication, you would need 3 Cybers bodies to OTK. Right? With any 3 Cyber bodies, you can either do double attacking access code, or you can do a Terahertz co-linked with Eagle and Crystal Heart, which you dump an Earth attribute with a Terahertz, and then the Crystal Heart will give Terahertz essentially 6100 attack and mid-letter attack twice. So you can do that with 3 bodies, but multiplication lets you just OTK with 2 bodies. And what's relevant about that is you can do that with basically any extender and any old monster. Like, the amount of times I OTK'd my opponent by normal summoning a hand trap, making Almirage, and then special summoning like any old dumbass Mathmech extender, and then having that be enough for OTK is stupid. Especially since a lot of times people will prevent you from getting the Circular either by ashing your Small Road or mining, or just getting or disrupting the Circular, since if you let Circular go through, that's like 2 free extenders off of that, so they just kill it on the spot. Like Fender banishing Circular is very popular, and yeah, this having multiplication as an option in your deck means that you don't need Circular at all to OTK. And the next thing that most Mathmech players, I guess, have maybe somewhat of a disagreement on is the number of additional Mathmech extenders, basically addition and subtraction. A lot of people like to run they like to run the Spirit Engine, Sakitama, and Aratama instead of additional copies of Subtraction and Addition. Since they function mostly for the same purpose, as in the Sakitama is just a level 4 extender, it just normal summons instead of special summons, and it's not a Cyberse. And Aratama is like, it's like weird because it is a normal summon, 1-card starter, it adds Sakitama, so that immediately gets you Alan Bursting, which does theoretically get you combo, but it also takes up your normal summon, so it means you can't summon Diameter later in your combo, so you have to like dump it and then you end up losing a body. So it's, a lot of people prefer not to run even the Aratama and just have Sakitama as a level 4 extender, in which case it basically fulfills the same purpose as Subtraction. And there's like slight differences between the two. I didn't test Sakitama extensively enough, but one of the advantages of Sakitama is that you can, it does not Cyberse lock you, unlike these Mathmech extenders. So theoretically, when you get shifted and you have Sakitama in hand, you could stall out the shifter turn with Baguska. And you can also make Bagus under Chisabu, but you know, you're still, you don't have to out the Chisabu, you're still, Bagus is not really going to help you there. But yeah, that's the perk of Sakitama. And I went with the additional Mathmech extenders since I just like these being Cybers. So Sakitama, as I mentioned, Handtraps are like an integral part of your combo a lot of the times, and I always keep the option of normal summoning a Handtrap to turn it into a Cyberse monster as like an action with Almirage as like an option to combo with. Sakitama does not combo with Handtraps, so like, whereas a Handtrap plus a Subtraction, as I mentioned before, is literally an OTK, and it also just gets you Terahertz by itself. Handtrap plus Sakitama does not do that. There's also lines where I do the line where I make a Heat Soul first just to get 1 drop, and then I link off the Heat Soul into Dark Fluid if I don't have any other extenders. If I draw into a Mathmech extender off of Heat Soul, like say Subtraction or Addition, then I can just summon that and link that off for a Terahertz instead, and I get to keep the Heat Soul too. Whereas if I draw a Sakitama off of the Heat Soul draw, then it also doesn't, it doesn't do anything, because at that point you have Heat Soul co-link with Fancy Kotaka, and there's no zone to link off the Sakitama into an Almirage with, so it just, it doesn't really help you at that point. That's that late into the combo. And there's other niche things, such as, not being a Mathmech name, meaning there are some occasions where Sakitama requires Terahertz to dump your third Mathmech name to make your Super Factorial live for Laplation, whereas sometimes if you just open the Mathmech name instead of the Sakitama, you don't have to use the second send off Terahertz to set up the Super Factorial, and then you can just keep it live to send for Mirror Logic Aggregator, so you get like an extra disruption that way. Just a bunch of minor things that I valued slightly more than Sakitama's ability to play through Shifter. And maybe that was the wrong decision. I got Shifter a few times, although not every time when I got Shifter I had the extender in hand anyway, so it wouldn't have made a difference right there. I don't think I'd be running 3 Sakitama, at most maybe 2 just to like replace the extra copies of the Mathmech cards. It's just like a little marginal thing. Largely, these two are like replaceable. And the other thing is, that I'll get to later, is you need extra deck space to put into Baguska in order to play the Spirit package too. So it's, yeah, as you can see, I have some interesting non-standard choices in here. Mostly due to one of them due to Psy-Framegear Gamma, as I wanted more out the Max E, since this is a deck that loses the Max E, so why not just run more potential outs to it if you can, right? That was my logic. I know it cuts off your Transco Talker, but you can still end on Terahertz even if you Gamma them. You just don't make the Transco Talker, you just go straight into Heat Soul and linked off the Heat Soul to Terahertz. It's well worth it for negating a Max E and getting a Hand Rip off Omega. Now, funny story, I did not change my name for Duelist Cup. My name throughout the entire thing, people saw I was Shape Snatch. They saw my same icon and profile and all that stuff. And somehow, partway through like Saturday or Sunday, people played around Gamma with Maxi. People stopped maxing my Circular and they started maxing my Sigma summon, which is like, I don't know how popular Gamma is in Mathmech. Last time I checked, this was like really substandard. Like I didn't see many people running Gamma at all, so I don't know if they were like just remember my profile and saw me reveal Gamma off Small World one time, and then just got PTSD from the Gamma. I don't know what's up with that, but every time they maxied my Sigma instead of my Circular, I have to out the maxi anyway, so yeah, fucked, I guess. But yeah, Gamma would end up being insane, even though because of like that, as I just said, I didn't get to Gamma a lot on my turns, since apparently people knew about this somehow, but still, this Gamma performed very well, even if only being usable on my opponent's turn, since this is like basically the best generic hand trap you can have in this format. Like against Vanquish Souls, right? They normal summon Raisin and you Gamma them, and they don't have Continue, and they don't have like a Caesar Valias or the Heavy Borger. They pass. Their turn's over. They don't get to make rock. They don't have a body. They don't get the Raisin Search. It's like a one card FTK against the right Vanquish Souls hand, which happened, a decent amount. So like that alone makes Gamma worth it, but beyond that, it lets you win the Maxi minigame, especially against Dragons. The Dragons plays Gamma themselves, but if they're the one trying to negate your Maxi with Gamma, then you have the Gamma too, then your Gamma goes over top of their Gamma, and then you win that interaction. It's also the only card that actually stops the furniture from setting traps, which, if you don't have Ash, that's probably the next best thing you can do. Against Mathmech, it is, against every other deck, it is just a better imperm. It's better to kill the Aeon version completely and get the body out the field as opposed to just imperming it. Against Pearly, I didn't get the Gamma Pearly player this weekend, but theoretically, since they're still on the Ghost Trick stuff, getting the body off the field is extremely valuable, so that they can't go into their Ghost Trick engine, whereas sometimes where you imperm them, but they have another quick play spell, they can just keep chaining quick play spells and then do the Ghost Trick stuff, replenish their hand, then keep going. Which that's not an option with Gamma. It also plays around the Pearly Field spell, so yeah, even just as a hand trapper going second, this was well worth running. And as I mentioned, it's really hard to go second in this meta, so I just want all the help I can get with that. The rest of the hand traps are pretty self-explanatory. The ones that are 3-ofs and like imperm because I ran out of space. These are self-explanatory. Any deck that runs hand traps run these, also the Maxi package. The 3 1-ofs, Valor, Bitbell, and Nibiru, that are essentially 50. Like mostly they're just small world bridges for like each other, right? So like, Effect Valor bridges Nibiru into Circular, Nibiru bridges Valor into Circular, and Valor helps bridge into Ghost Spell. And the idea with the 1-off Ghost Spell is, well, it happened in practice too, but essentially against a couple Labyrinth and the Mathmech players, where I would activate Smaller on my turn, they would just let it go because they're like, oh, he's gonna add Circular, right? I can handle one Circular, right? And then no, actually, I just small world bridged Valor, bridged like Diameter into a Valor, and then added Bell to my hand. And now your big welcome and your Super Factorial is neutralized. So thank you for letting me get search the out of that, and now I can play normally without worrying about your biggest form of disruption for my turn. Hell yeah, that was the yeah, that was really nice. That happened a couple times. Just hard drawing this is good against Bystials, since usually if they see that you're not on the Cyanide Complex stuff, they'll just wait to Bystial you until they'll wait to Bystial and chain it to your Super Factorial, since that's the safest way to deal with it. And then if it's on their turn, right, and then they try to Bystial your Super Factorial, and you bell them, then you win out in that interaction, since they get the key to their Bystial in hand, but you resolve your Super Factorial. So you're trading 3 cards for just trading the one-off Ghost Spell away, and that's like well worth. And you definitely are you go plus against the Bystial that way if you bell their Bystial like that. Now, this doesn't work if you small world for bell, because if you small world for bell, then they will just try to Bystial in your end phase, and then you have to either bell that and then lose on to the Bystial on the next turn, or it's really telegraphed, and like Bell's best against Bystials when they don't know that you have it. So I wanted to include more of this just as anti-Bystial stuff, but room's really tight, and Bell isn't good against most matchups that don't play Bystials against you. So yeah, I couldn't justify running more given how tight the space was. And the Biru, good against Dragon Link players that don't play around it, which was most of the Dragon Link players I faced up until like 40k. And low key, best hand trap versus stun. It's a rock, and it's a 3k attack, so it plays around Tsubu, and it runs over Majesty, Fiend, and Border. 10 out of 10 would tribute summon again. Oh yeah, I'm not running the microcontroller and the conflict package. Theoretically, this is the best way to play around Bystials, since it forces them to Bystial you on your end phase, and if they do that, you can just at least you can still send another name off Terahertz during their turn and make your Super Factorial alive, even if you don't have the diameter. So obviously this was better when diameter was at more than 1, but still, it guarantees that you have a way to resolve Super Factorial against one Bystial, the conflict package, as opposed to potentially not being able to resolve Super Factorial at all. But again, going second is so hard that I just don't want to include more cards that are just bad going second. Going first, you're favored mostly to win anyways, so I don't want to include more cards that only help going first, right? And as for the extra deck, so I would say 14 of these slots, 13 of these slots are stable, not 14, okay? Like everything here except Omega and the second location, I think is mandatory. I guess we'll go through them. The Save Worm, the 1 location, 1 Allen version, Aggregator. I see some people not running this. This is so good. Like the sending off Terahertz. I run my Dotscaper. I don't run Dotscaper. Like people like doing the play where they Terahertz send Dotscaper and then use the Dotscaper to make the Heat Soul, so that way they get to keep the Heat Soul if their combo is just circular and no extender. I honestly just link off the Heat Soul. Like I take this, you get the first draw on your turn off Heat Soul anyways. All sending the Dotscaper does is give up the Meteorological Aggregator potential disruption for 1 draw on your opponent's turn, which could be anything. It could even be a hand trap, which is another disruptor. But I just like guaranteeing I have Aggregator available. This is like low key, like really good. You chain this to any card, any effect that special summons, and then you can actually just negate whatever gets summoned out. So like you could Aggregator chain to any priority spell, and then they either have to like just waste their priority spell and not summon it, or if they do summon their priority monster, it's gonna get negated. Against Dragon Link, you don't have to use your Save Worm or Laplation against their field spell. You can just negate their field spell, either one. Against Branded, Branded opening, if they already committed to their normal summon, they can either summon something and get negated by Aggregator, or they could add it to their hand and not be able to use it that turn, and then get it ripped by Laplation. So yeah, this. Oh yeah, against Floodgates, baby. You want to Tsubu me? No, I'm gonna Aggregator your Tsubu, and then I'm gonna play on my turn without that Floodgate. So yeah, this card's really nice. I recommend playing this. Almirage, Link Decoder, Update Jammer, Splash Mage, Crystal Heart for the follow-up, and the OTK, Terahertz or OTK without multiplication, Transcode, Heat Soul, Ego Talker. So I ran Omega because, you know, I run Gamma. If you aren't running Gamma, then obviously you wouldn't run Omega. Even though, funny enough, you can hard make this with Diameter because this is a tuner, but you never do that. It's not. Don't actually hard make this. If you're not running Omega in the Gamma package, the next chart I would run is, you know, hold on, Lingerable, just as another Link 1 that you can make that you don't have to commit the Link Decoder off of your Cyber's monsters. You can actually go into Lingerable and play around some back row that way. Again, you don't need Lingerable to do any OTK lines or any combo lines, since linking off the Link Decoder is fine. You just wait to link off the decoder until later off in the combo. It's mostly the same, but there are matchups where having the trap negate, you know, Labyrinth and stun is pretty nice. Again, if you're running the Spirit package, there's also Bakuska, and then the second Laplation. So since I'm not running the Cynet Conflict package, I needed something to do if I have extra extenders in hand, right? And if you have like 2 extra extenders, or like basically just 1 exceed, you can do the same board, end on the same board of like Terahertz with Super Factorial, and then you have an additional Laplation hand rip in between. So a lot of people were just like ending on Lingerable. Like they had a bunch of extra bodies and didn't know what to do with them, so I figured you might as well do something with it. You know, use the 15 extra deck slot, get something if you have extra extenders, which I did Laplation and hand rip 1 a lot, and that does make a difference, since that basically means that if the Super Factorial resolves, they're never gonna have enough cards to be able to out your board, since, like, you know, just basic math, they're down to 5 cards and Super Factorial trades with 3, and then they save, and then Terahertz is 2 more negates, so, like, you know, that's 5 interruptions for 5 cards in hand. And it's not just something obviously that you can make off of like just having extra extenders. Sometimes your opponent has a disruption that they're just holding, and you know that you can't really OTK safely into it and like commit your you know, access code or your Terahertz. That's just gonna get stopped by their disruption. You can just hard make Laplation on your turn, right? And then Laplation detach 3, and it's most likely gonna go through because it's gonna have a Diameter gate attached to it most likely. So you just got rid of 3 of their cards on your turn, and then on your opponent's turn, you set up Super Factorial that way as well, so you can Super Factorial again for the second Laplation on their turn. And they lost like what, 5-6 cards in that exchange most likely, and you don't even when you don't kill them, like you just got rid of all their cards essentially. So yeah, I've made double Laplation a couple times too. Damn, I talked a lot more about Mathmech than I thought I would. Sorry about that. Anyways, let's move on to the replays. So if you were looking for some grindy, back and forth, long turns games with Mathmech, I'm sorry to disappoint you. That's just not how this deck operates. That's one of the advantages of playing this deck for this event. It's just that games go by fast, one way or the other. So I max C my opponent, and then I gamma their Starleech Saber, because they sent 2, so that's just the value was too high there. And yeah, it's goes back to my turn, and I normal summon Dot Scraper. I get max seed, I ash their max C, and they have gamma. Note that they held the gamma for my turn, which is smart because they were under max seed the previous turn. So if they gammaed my gamma last turn, my gamma on their safer, they still would have negged on that because they were under max seed. So good call on them. But anyways, remember I told you how 2 Cyber's bodies was an OTK? Well, 1 Dot Scraper is actually an OTK, and never, like, my opponent was screwed anyways if they didn't have drawing a disruption, but if you put your monsters in attack, then that's just the easiest target for Terahertz. So this is just the standard line. You should probably be familiar with what happens. You probably play against Mathmech. You go, eventually you get into the Transcode Talker, Link Decoder, and Slash Mage, and that makes a Terahertz. And then you enter battle phase, and then you and damage steps 10 multiplication, and then you get a 11k attack terahertz, and that's game over basically every monster in the game that's not Coral and Dragon. So yeah, standard, most common way you're gonna ODK with this deck right there. This game right here, I kept in for comedy. So this is a pretty standard Mathmech game to start. You're mining for Circular, and you activate Circular, sending Sigma, and our opponent has Maxi. So I'm gonna call by the Maxi, which is a little unfortunate because I kept the Maxi in hand, and now that Maxi is dead. There's an argument to be made to when you call by Maxi, you can actually chain your Maxi before your call by resolves. That way, if your opponent has Bystials and the Birus, you still get value out of it, even though because otherwise it would just be negated and be a dead card anyway. So I probably should have chained Maxi, knowing that like games don't really last to turn 4 with Mathmech anyways. So, and this deck does get hurt by Bystials, so it's probably smarter to Maxi chaining the call by here. I think that was a change I ended up doing later on in the event, in situations where I could chain Maxi to my own call by on a Maxi. Yeah, that's just tangent. Anyway, I have the out to Maxi, so I get the combo for free. Do I need to describe what happens here? Like you add super factorial, you add diameter, and you just go along your way. Okay, so it's just standard combos. Okay, go into Splash Mage. Oh yeah, Revive, Link Decoder. I heckin' love Cyber's combos. They're so unique. Skill Talker, the Link Decoder, Revive, Splash Mage, and then make a Heat Soul. And here we have an extra extender, so I actually can keep the Heat Soul. And oh, look at that! Another one. Draw into another Maxi. Yeah, because we had the subtraction, we get to keep the Heat Soul on board and make a terahertz on top of that, send the Safe Worm, and our opponent's turn, Heat Soul, draw third Maxi. Oh baby, a triple. Now my opponent doesn't know this, but I actually don't have a hand right now, so they shouldn't be as intimidated as this board as they normally would be by this board. But you know, they don't know that. You know, we'll keep that a secret between us. And our opponent starts with Stake Your Soul, revealing Raisin, and I figured I would just negate with the Save Worm because they have 4 cards in hand, and they're playing Vanquish Soul. So as soon as they summon something, I can Super Factorial it, and they're gonna evenly match. To which, I don't really need my 2 monsters on board. I'm just actually gonna send Dot Scraper just to get an extra body on board, and keep the Super Factorial on. They're just gonna normal summon a Raisin. I'm gonna chain Maxi. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they forgot and they have an Ash in hand and they want to change it, but of course that doesn't work in DDC Cup. So yeah, after they normal summon Raisin, Super Factorial, and they can't do anything about this since it doesn't target. If they want to chain their Caesar Valleys or Heavy Burger, that still dies. Their Raisin protects from destruction but not sending, which location sends. So yeah, this is as soon as the location resolves against the Vanquish Soul player that already used Stake Your Soul and a normal summon, it's usually over at that point. And they're gonna chain their Jiaolong, which I can actually still negate. And I end up sending the Jiaolong and the Raisin anyways. So yeah, that ends their turn. And my turn, I still have the Sigma engraved, and this is 3 bodies, so 3 bodies is definitely an OTK. Opponent realizes this and just leaves. And then, oh yeah, do a Psy-Framegear Gamma. That's just the 3 back to back to back, just amazing draws off the Heat Soul. This is the replay that just shows why everyone hates Cybers. Well, why a lot of people hate Cybers decks. So I'm gonna Small World, right? Banish Nibiru and get the Circular, and this is the 1-card combo. I'm speeding this up. You guys all know what this is. So we actually have to Exceed in here, so I guess I can show the line where what happens where we have Circular plus Exceed. At least the line that I do. So Allen version, obviously get Diameter, and then it gets ashed. Oh, yeah, it gets ashed. So, yeah, unfortunately, I can still use Allen's effect to revive Circular, and then I can link off the Circular into Decoder. So that triggers Exceed, and I can summon Exceed, and Exceed gets another Exceed, and then it's almost like that Ash didn't matter. The 2 Exceeds go into Splash Mage, and then Splash Mage will revive anything, and then the Splash Mage plus the Link Decoder goes into Transcode Talker, and then the Link Decoder comes back, and oh, it's almost like this is the same fucking board as before, through an Ash. And then they actually Nibiru. So here, I max E, because, you know, I get the Pot of Greed, and I honestly don't feel bad about the Nibiru, because I still have the Super Factorial set. And I end up drawing 2, and I draw a Drilling Lockboard, and I draw as an Extender. 6. So you summon Subtraction, then I normal summon Droll, because Handtraps are combo pieces in Mathmech, remember? You make Almirage, and then these 2 Cybers monsters make Crystal Heart, and then Crystal Heart revives Transcode Talker, and then Transcode Talker plus Crystal Heart make Heat Soul, so I get to draw another 2 cards. So through Ash, Nibiru, I still end on Super Factorial and a Heat Soul. And would I draw out the Heat Soul? Fucking maxi. Why? Well, because why not? You know what? Apparently that's the only card that Heat Soul draws. So sick. And I don't have the Diameter Negate, but I figured I might as well preserve by Heat Soul, and I have the maxi hand. So honestly, how bad do I really feel? And Limitation is gonna send the Nibiru, and they're gonna send another card in their hand after they already used 2 hand traps, so they are down to 3 cards. And it's oh, is that a Floodgate? Okay, no longer feel as bad, but still. You know, I can imagine being salty if you have 2 hand traps versus Mathmech and you still end up like getting dunked on like that. Okay, so this hand is full of gas. We have Circular, we have Addition, and we have Equation that's already Circular plus 2 extenders plus a Small World. And if our opponent, you know, even if they have Maxi, if they're not smarter than Maxi and play in the Gamma, then we even have to out the Maxi. So this is like almost everything you could possibly want. You start with Circular, you dump Sigma, and here is an example of how not to Bystial Mathmech. So this is what our opponent's only Bystial. You do not Bystial the Sigma. If you only have 1 Bystial, and you Bystial the Sigma, you lose to literally any extender. Which, you know, I have 3 different extenders in my hand, so this Sarnir does absolutely nothing. Okay, so instead I'm gonna summon Addition, and I'm gonna get the Circular Search for Super Factorial, and then overlay into Allen version and get Diameter, and oh look at that, it's almost like nothing happened with the Bystial. So you wanna hold your Bystial until later, and because I have a Small World in hand, which I'm gonna be using to grab another monster later. This is actually a hand where I can go Rotation on my turn. So I get to send the Sarnir to their grave, and I get to send a card in hand, you know, for free. And I can even negate the Sarnir send because this Rotation is not going to stay on the field, so I might as well use the negate on something of value, right? And now I'm going to Equation back one of the Mathmech monsters, Addition, and I'm going to Small World for Parallel Exceed. Okay. So now these 2 are going to go into Splash Mage. That's going to trigger Parallel Exceed. You know, we don't fear Nibiru around these parts. Then Splash Mage brings it back, and now you go Link Decoder, and you know this is the same old Transcode line, except now we have 2 extra bodies on the field. So now I can go Heat Soul off this, draw a card, and I get to make Terahertz with the Heat Soul still on board. So through that 1 Bystial, I end up with Heat Soul, draw 1, Terahertz, Super Factorial, Diameter Engrave. Like that literally, the Sarnir actually hurt them. They just lost extra cards in hand with the Sarnir. So I bet they feel they must be really loving Mathmech right now. And we draw a Circular, fitting. Someone's gonna call by the grave, and I don't even negate with the Saver. I just chain the Super Factorial, because at that point, with Super Factorial resolves, they're going to be down to 2 cards in hand. I have a negate, and I have still a Terahertz negate, and I have a called by, and it's just yeah, that's Cybers. So this hand, we're actually going to do something a little different. Whoa, we're doing different combo lines in Cybers? No way. Okay, so you notice this hand? So I'm going to Small World obviously for Circular, but you notice this hand does not have an out to Maxi. So if you want to play around Maxi, you can do it by having Circular and any extender. Well, not Equation, but Circular and any other Mathmech monster. So what you do is you Circular, you don't send Sigma, you send Diameter directly. And our opponent has Maxi, so I made the right decision playing around Maxi doing this line. You're gonna normal summon Circular, you're gonna special Circular, then you're gonna normal summon this. Your Mathmech name. Apparently, opponent has Ash and Maxi, so you know we're not. You know they're a little better than us, but honestly that doesn't matter because now you're just gonna go into Alan Version, and you're gonna detach 2, and you're gonna search the Super Factorial anyways. So it still doesn't matter if they have Ash, or Imperm, and you still have your Grave setup. You have 3 Mathmech names with Diameter, and you have the Super Factorial, and that only gives them 2 draws through Maxi. So that's basically the best you can do playing around Maxi, which is it's still better than the alternative, which is giving your opponent 3-4 plus draws to end on the same amount of instructions. So yeah, hopefully this 1 Super Factorial and an Imperm is going to be enough. And fortunately our opponent just normal summons Alibur, so Imperm actually does a lot. And they're going to chain Branded Opening, and this is where I chain Super Factorial. So you want to chain Super Factorial to Branded Opening. So they have 2 options. They can either Branded Opening, add the card to hand, in which case they can't use it because they already normal summon the Alibur, or they can special summon it, which is it's going to be Quem. And if you wait for after Quem hits the board, then Quem will already dump like a Fallen Balbaz in the grave, and then when you activate Super Factorial, Quem can trigger and summon the Fallen Balbaz back, and then fuse with your board. You don't want that. So if you change Super Factorial to Branded Opening, then on the summon window, Quem's effective dump will trigger, but at that point you've already summoned your monster from the extra decks, so you can no longer trigger Quem with your own Super Factorial, and then the Quem just goes to the grave without doing anything, which that's gonna be what happens here. So you make Location here, and then the opponent summons Quem, and then the Alibur gets negated. So Quem is gonna trigger to dump a card, and then Location is gonna trigger. It's gonna send the Quem immediately, so you don't get any value out of the Quem. They can't revive anything. And oh, we got rid of a kid as well. Damn, they just opened like another normal summon, and Quem just ends up seeing Retribution. They're gonna send Albion, and check out this line. They're gonna send Branded Lost from your hand to special summon Albion and run over the Alan Version, so I can't bring back the Circular. Desperate times. Unfortunately, we still have the Equation in hand. So this is 2 Cyberse monsters. And 2 Cyber monsters, as you know by now, is Terahertz OTK if you run with Multiplication. So, there you go. Okay, so this is going to be a game versus Vanquish Soul, and our opponent commits the cardinal sin of Vanquish Souls, which is Special Fender and Search Defender first. When you do this, you lose super hard to draw. This is like turn ending. So they're gonna normal summon a Raisin, and they're just gonna make Rock that way, and then add the Raisin back. So that's all they can do, since they use their search on an Earth attribute, and that's it. So our turn, right? I'm gonna Small World, and I'm gonna get Circular, and I'm gonna special the Circular, and 90% of the time this baits out the Fender, like so. So now the Circular's gone, It did its job, but you see we have a Parallel Exceed in hand. So Parallel Exceed plus a Hand Trap, once again, Hand Trap plus a Cyberse Extender, that's game. All we have to worry about is the potential attributes in their hand. I know they have an Earth, and they have a Raisin that they can summon off Rock, but I don't know the other 3 cards in hand. So we're playing it safe still. First you summon Sigma to the Rock Zone, then I normal summon the Maxi, and make the Almirage for Raisin protection. Special Exceed, then Exceeds, summon another copy of itself, and our opponent, they didn't do anything. So they didn't summon the Raisin or anything, so I'm actually just going to force it out right now, and I'm going to make Location. And again, no response to the Location. It doesn't have a negate, so I'm just going to send a random card, and I send the Raisin, I send the Fender, since if I send the Fender, I can actually just straight up just OTK anyways, even if they summon a card off Rocket Vanquisher, as I'll explain later. And hey, guess what? This is 2 Cyberus monsters. You know what 2 Cyberus monsters means, right? That's an OTK. So I'm putting our opponent better have the right attributes to raise them. They have 3 cards in hand. You know, they better have the right one. And they better have them right now, because I'm going to Ash the Raise and Search. And our opponent's going to... well, I'm going to Slash Mage. And our opponent's going to activate Raise an effect, and they have a fire, and that's it. They don't have the fire in the dark to pop my Slash Mage, and this game is over. So, you know, you go into the link decoder, this line that I've shown you like 4 times now, and you just make a terahertz off this, and you enter battle phase, and then you send multiplication. So fun fact, terahertz can attack a number of times equal to the amount of attributes it has. So by sending a multiplication, it gives terahertz an earth attribute. So now that it's dark and earth. So 2 attributes means it can attack twice. So it can attack over the raisin, and then it punches over the rock for game. So yeah, that's about as interactive as you're gonna get with a Mathmech game. So 3 out of 10 would not play Mathmech again. I picked the wrong deck. That was a legitimate skill issue. Should have played Vanquish Souls. Should have rolled in the Vanquish Souls pack. Should have not rolled in the Mathmech pack. My bad. I'm gonna one of these days I'm gonna actually get into the top 100 of Duelist Cup eventually. So it was not my weekend this DC, but we'll get him next time.